The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened with unprecedented urgency. Representatives from dozens of species filled the crystalline amphitheater, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and telepathic static. At the center podium, Ambassador Zefkar of the Vortanian Empire stood with what could only be described as smug confidence. Esteemed colleagues, Zefkar's voice resonated through the universal translators. I bring news of our imminent victory. The Third Fleet has been dispatched to claim the primitive world designated as Sol 3. The humans call it ... Earth. The announcement was met with stunned silence. Council Speaker Tisala, an ancient crystalline whose form shimmered with distress. Patterns was the first to break the quiet. You ... What? The words came out as barely more than a whisper, her translucent body flickering between colors of disbelief and horror. Ambassador Victor of the Hegemony leaned forward, his 6 eyes widening in unison. Zefkar, please tell me you're engaging in some form of primitive human ritual. I assure you, this is no jest, the Vortanian replied, his chest swelling with pride. Within 72 standard hours, that backwater planet will be under our control. The humans are barely a Type 1 civilization. What could they possibly do? The roar came from Ambassador Graxu, whose massive form had shot up from his reinforced seating. The Titan's voice caused several smaller delegates to cower. Have you lost all cognitive function, Zefkar? The Vortanian's confidence wavered slightly. I failed to see the cause for such alarm. They haven't even achieved faster-than-light travel independently. Their weapons are primitive kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. Their military doctrine is their military doctrine, interrupted High Counselor Mirith of the Ascended. Her ethereal form pulsing with agitation is the single most terrifying thing in the known galaxy. Do you know what humans call a fair fight, Zefkar? The Vortanian's silence spoke volumes. They don't believe in fair fights, Mirith continued, her voice growing more strained. They believe in winning, at any cost, by any means necessary. Ambassador Tisala had begun cycling through rapid color changes, a sure sign of extreme distress among her people. The humans are a death world species, Zefkar. Do you understand what that means? Of course, he scoffed. They evolved on a planet with slightly higher gravity and more aggressive weather patterns than most inhabited worlds. Nothing the Empire hasn't encountered before. The collective groan that arose from the assembled delegates would have been comedic under different circumstances. Slightly higher gravity? Victor's voice cracked. Zefkar, their gravity is nearly double that of most civilized worlds. Their weather patterns include phenomena that will be classified as natural disasters on 90% of inhabited planets. They consider these things seasonal variations. Raxul had begun pacing, each footstep causing minor tremors in the chamber. Tell him about the water, Mirith. Tell him about their precious oceans. The ascended delegates' form grew dimmer. 71% of their planet's surface is covered in a corrosive solvent that they not only tolerate but require for survival. They evolved from creatures that lived in that substance, and they still venture into it for recreation. Recreation, whispered Tisala, her colors now a sickly mixture of yellow and green. They swim in it, for fun. Zefkar's posture had begun to straighten with uncertainty. These are merely environmental adaptations. Surely their technology, Graxul interrupted, is specifically designed around the principle of mutual annihilation. Do you know what they call their doctrine of nuclear warfare? Mutually assured destruction. They created weapons capable of sterilizing their entire planet, and their primary strategy is to ensure that if they die, everyone dies with them. The color had begun to drain from Zefkar's exoskeleton. BUT, but they're not even united as a species. Their planet is divided into hundreds of separate political entities, constantly at war with each other. Exactly. Victor's eyes were now focused entirely on the Vortanian. They spend most of their time fighting each other, constantly developing new and more horrifying ways to kill members of their own species. Do you have any idea what they'll do to you? Ambassador Tisala had managed to stabilize her coloration to a deep, ominous blue. Zethkar, in the recorded history of the Galactic Council, only 3 species have ever attempted to invade Earth. Would you like to know what happened to them? The silence stretched for several long moments. The first was the Krill Dominion. She continued when no answer came. Apex predators from a high-gravity world, considered the most efficient killers in their sector. The humans studied them for 6 weeks, then systematically hunted them to extinction using weapons made from their own technology. Zethkar's breathing had become noticeably more rapid. The second was the Zarian Collective, Mirith added. A hive mind species with instantaneous communication across their entire fleet. The humans introduced a computer virus that turned their greatest strength into their ultimate weakness, causing their entire civilization to collapse in 17 days. And the third? Zethkar's voice was barely audible. Graxul's massive form leaned down toward the podium. The third was the hegemony of stars, a peaceful, advanced civilization that sought only to establish diplomatic relations. The humans were so suspicious of their motives that they infiltrated the hegemony's government, economy, and military before revealing themselves. By the time first contact was officially made, humans had already been running 3 separate hegemony worlds for over a decade. The Vortanian ambassador swayed slightly on his feet. But my fleet ... the Third Fleet is the pride of the Empire ... Your fleet, Speaker Tisala said with what might have been sympathy, consists of how many vessels? 247. Warships plus support craft. Zethkar, she said gently, the humans have been tracking your fleet since it left Vortanian space. They've been broadcasting detailed specifications of your ships, crew complements, and weapon systems on their global communication network. Their military leadership has been holding public discussions about the most efficient methods to disable your vessels. That single quote S ... that's impossible. Our ships use stealth technology that the humans reverse engineered from wreckage of the previous invasion attempts. Victor finished. They've been watching you for weeks, Zethkar. They know your ship classifications better than your own engineers. The Vortanian's legs finally gave out, and he collapsed into his seating with a dull thud. What ... what do I do? The assembled delegates exchanged glances filled with what could only be described as pity. You pray, Graxul said simply. That they're feeling merciful. And you hope that your species' children will someday forgive you for what you've brought upon them. Speaker Tisala's form had settled into a somber purple. Emergency session adjourned. All vessels are to maintain maximum distance from the Sol system until further notice. As the delegates filed out, the emergency broadcasts were already beginning to reach every corner of the galaxy. Do not approach Earth. Do not engage the humans. Do not give them a reason to notice you in the empty chamber. Zethkar sat alone, staring at the communication device that would connect him to his fleet. On the screen, a simple message waited to be sent. Abort mission. Return home immediately. But even as his finger hovered over the transmission key, he knew it was already too late. The humans had noticed him, and everyone knew what happened when humans felt threatened.